Hi, everyone. It is Mrs. Willenbring, and this is for online students as well as anybody that would like to have a little recap on what went over in class. So, the assignment for this week was to read chapters 1 and 2. So, we'll do just a short little overview of chapter 1, and that was kind of the analogy of the whale watching excursion that the person was reluctant to go on. And one thing you want to remember is, if you bring your reader to a place in your story, whether it's a story or a persuasive essay, you want to make sure that they know what they're doing, they kind of understand where you're going, and that you bring them back and tell them what they should take away from their trip, if you will, with you. Um, so in this class, we're going to do the 5 writing components of essay writing. So structure, style, content, mechanics, and overall expression. We're going to um, use all of those, but we're really going to focus on structure. So thesis statements, transitions, intros, and conclusions. Of course, the style with the varying your opening sentences, the mechanics of grammar are still going to be there, but we're really going to just focus on structure. And these are the essay genres that we're going to uh, really hone in on. There are more than this, but these are the ones we're going to work with. So, an informative, another name for that is expository, a narrative or descriptive, and the persuasive. So, jumping into chapter 2 on thesis statements. So, this is out of the book. The thesis statement gives form to the essay's ideas and helps readers to follow your thoughts. I think that is really important. And if you can think about each paragraph that you write has a topic sentence where you're just telling the reader what to expect. And you can think of a thesis statement as a megatopic sentence. So it's going to kind of include or touch on all of those topic sentences. So it kind of gathers them together. So for the whole main idea of the essay and why you're writing this, so the purpose of the essay. It also helps the writer as what to leave in to the essay and what to leave out. There might be some really interesting facts or information that you want to give, but it doesn't quite fit into the thesis statement. So then you have to think about if you if the essay would be more effective if you put it back in, then you just have to change your thesis. So, and for this class, you will be doing that all in one sentence at the end of the introduction. I know you can do this. You just have to practice a little bit. So, first, we're going to talk about these essay formats. The informative, obviously, it informs or explains. So, a good example would be a newspaper article or even an instruction manual. Often explains how to put something together or how something works, like a tutorial, something like that. I know you don't haven't really thought about them as an informative essay, but that is, in fact, what they are. A narrative is like a story, describes a lesson learned or an emotion shared with the reader. The persuasive tries to change the reader's mind or convince. Sometimes you can't always get to convinced, but maybe you can have them start to shift their thinking on that topic. And sometimes that's the best we can do with our essays at the length that they are. It is much less, what do I want to say, like aggressive than an argumentative. An argumentative is kind of build a pretty tight argument on how to take a firm stand on something. This is not quite to that level. And so most of the time, um, it's you don't have to use a sledgehammer against your reader. Sometimes a little humor or phrasing can help convince a reader to continue reading, which is the number one thing you want to have happen, and then maybe to shift their mind on the topic. And then the last thing is the academic statement, which is always a three-pronged approach to deliver ideas. So each of those three aspects are outlined very clearly in an academic statement. A lot of times those are history and science papers or essays. So the informative, if you look on your book's page 12, there's a table, thesis modeling notes, and that's kind of what we're going over here. So kind of just give you a little bit of a how-to, and then you can try some of these on your own. So if you look at the essay type, expository or informative, and you look at the topic that she's made up, friends, and one of them, we just don't have time in class to try and go over all of these, but so I just chose one in each area to kind of focus on. If you would like to do all of them, that's awesome. Parents, if you would like your student to do all of them, that's awesome. I'm just going to give one of each kind and try and build a thesis statement. So, where would you start? Well, sometimes you have to think about your focus or your slant. It's kind of an odd word, but your slant or some of the details. Sometimes you have to kind of step back and kind of go from the opposite angle. So if you wanted to talk about overcoming shyness in an informative way, like you're going to explain how to do that, maybe you would want to think about what are some of the great things about having friends. So companionship, shared experiences, connection, maybe trust is a big part of it. So one possible thesis statement would be, although it takes extra effort to overcome shyness, those who do enjoy the benefits of friendship. So maybe you can think up another thesis statement that would maybe take a different slant at it or a little different focus or highlight some other details. That's perfectly fine. If you, for example, write this essay hypothetically, and you find that in your essay, other details come up and they are really what you think are really powerful details, you can go ahead and change your thesis statement to reflect that. You just want to give your reader the best essay that you can share. So the next one, a little farther down on that chart, is narrative or descriptive. So one of the items that she talks about is holidays, and a focus of that would be like a nostalgic view of holidays. So narratives are kind of distinguished by how much of your senses that they talk about, like the smells, the taste, the feelings, those kinds of things, or remembering a lesson you learned. So maybe moral of the story kind of a thing. So using those senses, what could be a roadmap through the essay, what you want to tell, what the story is that you want to tell. So possibly you would want to say something like, my childhood was filled with down-home Christmases, complete with frosty air, crunchy snow, and a freshly cut tree. So, for example, if you are imagining your reader being more of a city person, like you would want to describe those smells and those feelings and that crispness of the air and that crunchy snow and maybe some other aspects of it as you expand and develop your essay. but just trying to give them a sense of what your Christmas is worth. The next one is a persuasive, and she has television as a topic and enjoyable. So again, you're probably not going to convince someone who just is not interested in changing their mind, but maybe with some humor or with some common ground, you can maybe even just get them to budge just a little. That is a perfectly okay thing to have happen. You don't have to take someone who is really in the black on one idea and bring them all the way to white. It's fine if they just get to charcoal gray sometimes. So a possible thesis statement would be Sesame Street showed that television programming could have a positive effect on a child's development because they enjoyed watching it. Okay, so you can think of another if you'd like. Lastly, the academic statement can be informative or persuasive. The one that she has there as a persuasive is smoking. And she lists 3 items: health problems, the cost of habit, and image. So I put there an image of a 3-tined hay fork. So if you want to think of that, or a trident or something like that, it can hopefully create an image in your mind. The topics are usually expanded on in those body paragraphs that are going to follow, but it's important, and we'll work with this for sure, but it is important that the topics that you list are grammatically parallel. For instance, you would want to have them, if one ends in an ing, then all of them should end in an ing. Otherwise, it can be really kind of jarring for the reader because they are expecting that triple. And because they have these 3 aspects, these are also great working thesis statements. Maybe as you develop your ideas for a essay, you would take out image and put another kind of a detail in there instead. But that's what I mean by working thesis. It's like you have this thesis now, and as you develop your thoughts on it, maybe one thing would drop out and another detail would come in. That's completely up to you as the writer. So at this point in class, we broke up into red, blue, yellow, and green groups, as we had about 15 people in the class on Monday. One group took courage and did an informative. One group did a gift, meaning like a present, and did a descriptive. No, I'm sorry, a narrative. So kind of like a descriptive. Women in the military, one group took that on as a persuasive. And the last one, education, that's the one we did as an academic statement. So online students, if you would please do the same on exercise 1, take each of those and do them in a particular essay style or essay format and do a thesis statement for those. Just make sure that one of them is an inform, one of them is a descriptive, and one of them is a persuasive, and tuck in for sure an academic statement on one of them. You can do the same format that your classmates chose in class, or you could do courage as an academic statement. Doesn't matter, just make sure that you complete that one. And then you can continue on exercise 2 and do that one as well. Again,